NBC are the cancer on earth. This television wants to follow CNN's steps of becoming a totally unreliable source of information. Megyn Kelly came to NBC to bring some standards in this network, but obviously, the things are not working that way. They thought that if they have someone a little bit smarter to present and defend their lies, they will make us all believe them. Well, they make a huge mistake. However, Megyn Kelly was brave enough to make an interview with one of the most powerful people in the world, Vladimir Putin, during the hardest political crisis in the USA in recent time. This interview is very interesting. It's pretty obvious that Vladimir Putin is disgusted by Megyn Kelly and her unprofessional way of making an interview, but he was not able to hold his horses, and in one moment he told Megyn Kelly that she is supposed to go to jail with the stupid question she asked, because if we follow the liberals' logic that's crime. Putin said that Kelly should be put in jail for talking to him if journalistic standards regarding Flint's ties to Russia were actually upheld. This part was cut from the official release of the NBC's interview with Putin.
Для первого воскресного прайм-тайма с ведущей Megyn Kelly американский канал NBC выбрал беспроигрышный вариант – интервью с Владимиром Путиным, что может быть более рейтинговым, когда в США только и разговоров, что о России и ее якобы вмешательстве в американские выборы. Ему на самом деле нравится, когда бросают вызов. Уже после записи скажет о Путине Келли, словно подтверждая, она все время пыталась спровоцировать российского лидера.
Есть агентство госбезопасности, которое так утверждает, демократы, республиканцы. Все комитеты, которые видели секретные материалы, говорят, что это так. Они что, все врут?
Я ни разу не видел прямых каких-то доказательств вмешательства России в президентские выборы в США. Я никого не хочу обидеть, но Соединенные Штаты везде, по всему миру, активно вмешиваются в выборные кампании других стран. Ну, вот куда пальцем на карту мира не ткнешь, везде вам будут жаловаться на то, что американские официальные лица вмешиваются в их внутренние политические процессы. Поэтому если кто-то, я не говорю, не мы не вмешивались, но если кто-то каким-то образом влияет или пытается влиять, или как-то участвует в этих процессах, то уж тогда Соединенным Штатам не на что обижаться.
Русские хакеры, русское досье, которое у Москвы якобы есть и на Трампа, русские шпионы, для нужной ассоциации, видимо, и эта фотография.
KGB spy master.
И ведь Путин уже подробно объяснял Келли еще на Петербургском форуме, что атаковать компьютеры можно из любой точки мира, и не обязательно России. Но ретранслируя американские стереотипы о российской политике, Келли продолжает задавать острые вопросы, получая на них не менее острые ответы.
Сейчас расследуются связи между вашим правительством и компанией Трампа. Вы сказали, что посол Кисляк просто выполнял свою работу. А что же обсуждалось на этих заседаниях?
Вы что думаете, со всего мира или из Соединенных Штатов посол мне каждый день докладывает, с кем он там встречается, что обсуждает? Ну, бред какой-то. Вы понимаете, что вы спрашиваете или нет?
Вы же его начальник.
Послушайте, у него начальник министр иностранных дел. Неужели вы понимаете, что это чушь? Я даже не знаю, с кем он там встречался. Вы на голом месте сделали сенсацию и превратили ее в инструмент борьбы с действующим президентом. Ну, это вы просто знаете, что вы такие изобретательные люди, там такие молодцы. Вам скучно жить, видимо.
В российских агентов в США принято записывать едва ли не каждого, кто бывает в России. Вот и бывший советник Трампа по нацбезопасности Флинн был вынужден подать в отставку после обвинений в тесных связях с Москвой. Подвел, похоже, вот этот снимок, где Флинн рядом с Путиным.
Какие у вас были отношения с господином Флинном?
У меня с вами, вот с вами лично, гораздо более близкие отношения, чем с господином Флинном. Мы с вами вчера встречались вечером. Мы с вами сегодня целый день вместе работали. Вот сейчас опять встречаемся. Когда я пришел на мероприятие нашей компании Russia Today, сел за стол, рядом сидел какой-то господин с одной стороны, с другой стороны кто-то еще сидел. Потом я выступил, еще о чем-то поговорили, я встал и ушел. Все мое знакомство с господином Флинном. Вот если у нас с Флинном был такой контакт, а с вами целый день, Флинна уволили с работы, а вас нужно просто арестовать и посадить в тюрьму.
Как рассказала потом журналистка, разговор без камеры оказался неожиданно теплым, а Путин любезным, говорили даже о семье. Но во время интервью от американских дел Келли отвлеклась только для того, чтобы спросить, а как в России дела с демократией?
Россия развивается по демократическому пути. Это безусловно. И в этом не должно быть ни у кого никаких сомнений. У нас собираются митинги оппозиции, у нас люди имеют право высказывать свою точку зрения. Да, если люди в ходе выражения своего собственного мнения нарушают действующее законодательство, действующий закон, то тогда, конечно, правоохранительные органы стараются навести порядок. Наша полиция, слава богу, пока во всяком случае не применяет ни дубинки, ни слезоточивый газ, ни другие крайние меры наведения порядка, что мы часто видим в других странах, в том числе и в Соединенных Штатах. Давайте вспомним движение «Occupy Wall Street». Где оно теперь? Правоохранительные органы специальные службы Соединенных Штатов разобрали его на колесики и растворили. Я же не задаю вам вопросы, как у вас с демократией в Соединенных Штатах. Почему вы считаете себя вправе задавать нам такие вопросы? Причем постоянно. Заниматься морализаторством и учить нас жить.
Главный посыл Путина – Россия готова прислушиваться к любым оценкам, когда они делаются ради налаживания контактов, но абсолютно не приемлет, когда они используются как инструмент в политической борьбе.
Вот в этом и есть наш месседж.
Александр Балицкий, Ирина Харламова и Наталья Губина. Вести.
This is the true face of the liberal media. Vladimir Putin just made an excellent point. Flynn was just an innocent man who did nothing wrong, just a little chat with someone from the Russian embassy who probably congratulated to Trump's team for the huge victory, just as many others diplomats did. But the liberal media used that to strike against Flynn, destroyed his career and dignity, all in order to discredit and compromise President Trump. However, the investigation was clear: no evidence against Trump. Spread this video everywhere. Megyn Kelly is collaborating with Russian officials. Wow. That's how the liberals would have made it sound. Pathetic liberals and unprofessional media. Turn off your TV, turn on your brain.
North Korea is issuing a new threat to the U.S., warning of a, quote, super mighty preemptive strike. Comes after Secretary of State Rex Tillerson said the White House was looking to put more pressure on the regime. This is a constantly developing story minute by minute. What is the latest?
You're right, Shannon. There seems to be a lot of back and forth at the moment as the US and their allies consistently say that the North Korean regime must change its ways. The regime continues to threaten these attacks. And as you say today, they have threatened a super mighty preemptive strike, saying that they could immediately wipe out US forces in South Korea and also strike the US mainland, reducing them to ashes. Their provocations now seem to be ratcheting up, but Secretary Tillerson, his response was as measured as ever.
We're reviewing all the status of North Korea, both in terms of state sponsorship of terrorism, as well as all the other ways in which we can bring pressure to bear on the regime in Pyongyang.
So no let up from North Korea, but continued pressure from the administration to try and solve this awful solution, this awful problem. Shannon?
Okay, so China, obviously, Benjamin, a key player here. The president's talked a lot about our growing role with them, his chemistry with their top leader. What does that country now have to say about how this is playing out?
You know, Shannon, there's been sort of mixed signals from them. Of course, China has a relationship with North Korea. They have done for some time, and that's not going to change overnight. But they are getting frustrated with the regime. You know, the US has a pretty good relationship with China on this at the moment, as seen with Trump's meeting with the president in Mar-a-Lago. But the Chinese say they are opposed to any US unilateral sanctions and action in Korea. And they've also said that at the moment, they continue normal relations, including normal business contacts, with the rogue state. Meanwhile, the US and South Korea continued joint exercises named Max Thunder to serve as a deterrent as tensions mount. About 100 aircraft, including F-16s, took part in the drills aimed at checking the Air Force's air battle and surgical strike capabilities in an emergency situation. So very tense situations in the Korean Peninsula, but the US still saying the era of strategic patience is over. All options remain on the table.
평화를 사랑하지만 절대로
We are seeking peace, not begging for it. We will defend the peace and security of our nation by our own might. our army is at a state of maximum alert to respond to the US military build-up. If we notice any sign of assault on our sovereignty, our army will launch merciless military strikes against the US aggressors wherever they may exist, from the remote US lands to the US military bases in the Korean Peninsula, like those of Japan and elsewhere. The recent US maneuvers and the previous ones, which the US keeps saying are annual defensive routines, have revealed the hostile intentions of the US. Those moments fall within the scenario of preemptive strikes that are directly targeting our Supreme Command and strategic positions, like our missile and nuclear capabilities. The new Trump administration should look to the world with open eyes. The time of dictating orders by brandishing the US military might has gone. If those businessmen in power in the US thought they could intimidate us with military or sanction threats, as the Obama administration used to do and failed, they will soon find out such threats are useless. Unless the US abandons its hostile policies against North Korea, there will be no chance for any future bilateral meetings at any level. It is a prerequisite that Washington gives up those antagonistic policies against us. The six-party talks aimed at making the Korean Peninsula free of nuclear weapons were throttled at birth. They no longer exist. The nuclear weapon in our possession is not an illusion. It is not a commodity that can be traded for American dollars, nor is it for sale. So it cannot be put on the negotiating table with the aim of taking it away from us.
The United States of America will always seek peace, but under President Trump, the shield stands guard and the sword stands ready. Rest assured, under President Trump's leadership, the United States will continue to protect our people and our allies, and to strengthen the bonds between us today, tomorrow, and every day that follows. History will attest, the soldier does not bear the sword in vain. And those who would challenge our resolve or our readiness should know, we will defeat any attack and meet any use of conventional or nuclear weapons with an overwhelming and effective American response.
Part of the response to the increase in provocation from Pyongyang was supposed to be the deployment of another US carrier and its supporting ships. Just over a week ago, the US government implied that the ships were on their way to the Korean Peninsula.
We are sending an armada, very powerful. We have submarines, very powerful, far more powerful than the aircraft carrier, that I can tell you.
The problem is that it actually wasn't at that time. New York Times revealed that when Trump and a number of officials made the claim, U.S. carrier Carl Vinson, along with 3 other warships, were in fact heading to the opposite direction to take part in joint exercise with the Australian Navy in the Indian Ocean. And that blip could have stayed unnoticed if the Navy itself did not post a picture of the vessel last Saturday, saying it was made while Carl Vinson was passing through Sunda Strait off the coast of Indonesia. The untimely and uncoordinated announcement sent a lot of blushes onto the faces of the Pentagon officials, but now the White House says the armada is finally headed to the Sea of Japan.
I believe that he might have spoken too quickly on this location of the vessel before it was actually arriving.
The President said that we have an armada going towards the peninsula. That's a fact. It happened. It is happening, rather. It was announced that it was going. It will be there. We were asked simply a question on that. I think all other questions should be asked of the Department of Defense.
But in Pyongyang, the propaganda continues. State television aired footage of a musical performance to mark the birthday of the late founding father Kim Il-sung. His grandson and the current leader of North Korea, Kim Jong-Un, attended the show. It ended with mock footage of missiles flying over the Pacific, striking the United States and engulfing it in flames.
Meanwhile, an amateur video footage filmed in the Russian Far East went viral online, showing redeployment of Russian troops onto the border with North Korea. The Kremlin said through its spokesperson Dmitry Peskov on Monday that only a coordinated international effort would be the right way to solve the Korean crisis peacefully, noting at the same time that Moscow was highly concerned with what was happening on the Russian Far Eastern border.
Уважаемые коллеги, начинаем пресс-конференцию глав внешнеполитических ведомств России и Сенегала.
Мы не приемлем ядерные, ракетные, авантюрные действия Пхеньяна в нарушении многочисленных резолюций Совета Безопасности ООН, но это отнюдь не означает, что можно таким же образом нарушать международное право, применяя силу. Я очень надеюсь, что односторонних действий, наподобие тех, которых мы видели вот недавно в Сирии, не будет. И что Соединенные Штаты будут следовать той линии, которую президент Трамп неоднократно озвучивал в период своей предвыборной кампании.
The same notion has been voiced by Beijing. So things may have calmed down a little bit for now, but the situation can hardly be described as stable. The U.S. fleet is expected to arrive by the coast of the Korean Peninsula early next week.
To the members of the Security Council, I must say, enough is enough. Nuclear powers understand their responsibilities. Kim Jong-Un shows no such understanding. His abusive use of missiles and his nuclear threats show that he is begging for war. War is never something the United States wants. We don't want it now. But our country's patience is not unlimited.
What we've heard from Haley is nothing new, actually. Only yesterday, the U.S. Defense Secretary Jim Mattis said that Washington will use any means necessary to defend itself from North Korea. Washington has been threatening military action for weeks, and the rhetoric has been growing stronger and stronger since the beginning of August, when Trump threatened DPRK with fire and fury. Thankfully, it doesn't go beyond threats. But at the same time, Washington hasn't really proposed a viable solution, except for sanctions, which Russia and China, however, have been calling for North Korea to return to dialogue.
A comprehensive settlement to the nuclear and other issues plaguing the Korean Peninsula can be arrived at solely through political and diplomatic channels. We reiterate our readiness to help this process via the implementation of the initiative proposed by Russia and China.
A comprehensive settlement to the nuclear and other issues plaguing the Korean Peninsula can be arrived at solely through political and diplomatic channels. We reiterate our readiness to help this process via the implementation of the initiative proposed by Russia and China. China and Russia have proposed an initiative for the denuclearization of the Korean Peninsula. It is practical and feasible and aimed at easing the tensions and preventing further escalation.
Moscow and Beijing has proposed a roadmap for settling the crisis, calling for a freeze on North Korea's nuclear tests and U.S. and South Korea's drills. The double freeze initiative for North Korea has been proposed by China and Russia, which would require North Korea to stop its nuclear and ballistic missile tests, and in return the U.S. and South Korea would stop their military drills. This is a move that Washington considers to be offensive.
The idea that some have suggested a so-called freeze for freeze is insulting.
So it looks like for now the situation is in a deadlock, at least until Washington decides that threats and sanctions are counterproductive.